My name is George Diaz. I'm the Public Relations Director. First person you'll hear from is Al Yelverton, Y-E-L-V-E-R-T-O-N. First name Al. He, basic spelling, he is the Director of Technology Services for Rockdale County. Second person you'll be hearing is from Chairman Oz Nesbitt, N-E-S-B-I-T-T, Senior, Oz Nesbitt Senior. That's the chairman of Rockdale County. What we'll do is we'll start off with Al, then we'll go directly to the chairman. If you will hold your questions actually for the chairman, he will speak last. One other last thing I wanted to add, this is the first ransomware attack that we've had since Al Yelverton has been our Director of Technology Services. The administration did deal with the ransomware attack early on when they came on site, which was resolved within a matter of days thanks to some of our cybersecurity contractors out of Augusta. With that being said, I will turn it over to Al Yelverton.
Morning. Rockdale County experienced some unusual network traffic on Thursday afternoon. And during our investigation, we found that there were multiple attempts to enter the network and information leaving the network. Further investigation pointed us to a ransomware incident. The ransomware is actually Ryuk. We have engaged with our federal and state partners to mitigate the issue, and we have at this point no indication that any citizen or financial information has been compromised. We continue to do the remediation. We are trying to make sure that we do it correctly so this doesn't reoccur because we missed something. Questions?
Did you all have to pay for anything?
No. At this juncture, there's been no request for payment, and we're looking more to follow the federal and state guidelines to try to remediate without payment. As it stands now, everybody that we've talked to, it's less than a 50% chance if we were to pay that we'd actually get a satisfactory result.
What departments were impacted?
We took the precaution, trying to get ahead of this and make sure it did not spread, that we have affected some services in every department because we've turned off the critical servers. We're bringing those back on once we have a clean bill of health, and we'll be back to full services. Right now, we do have phone services working. We also have email working. And there are various and sundry departmental applications that are still working, so we can provide some services, but just not full blown.
Whoever has the next question, real quick, let me let Satar get you that mic right here to Tom Jones, because we're also streaming this on our Facebook, so our residents can hear your questions.
Sure.
Okay.
Tom Jones, WSBTV. What interruptions did you actually have?
We turned off the services for Rockdale Water Resources because those services involve money. We did not want that to be compromised. The courts and justice system, because you don't want any of the court records to be compromised, we stopped those services as well. Those are the major ones we turned off.
Does that include the jails?
The jail is still fully operational.
What about the courts?
The courts are operational to some degree.
So what do you mean you turned off the services for the courts? What does that mean?
The court uses a set of software that actually tracks cases, evidence, witnesses, etc. So they have that information on paper, but they don't necessarily have access to the files that are digital.
And police, how were they affected?
They are not.
They weren't there now.
They're not. We have kept 911 operational so that every first responder has the information they need to respond. We've got full police, fire, ambulance services available.
And real quick, one thing I want to mention, we'll hold for some of the public that's attending, and we'll make time for you guys to ask questions. However, we do want to be conscious of the deadline the reporter's on that they're trying to be at noon. So we'll leave the reporter's questions right now. After this portion is done, we'll make some time for public comment.
What do you think the target of these people who are getting, what do you think the target?
There's a very big reason for them doing this money. They want bitcoins, they want to have an untraceable source of income, And there are some people out there who just do it to be disruptive, quite honestly. This is, as it stands now, we can't categorize this ransomware attack as to being just something that someone did to be mean versus someone trying to make a financial gain.
But you've had no demand for money.
Yet. That's the key question.
You expect it?
I always expect it. Are we going to get it? I hope not. I hope we're recovered, restored, and back in full service before it even shows up.
You mentioned that on Thursday there was a disruption. What was that? Did that include employees walking in, not being able to get into their computers? What does that mean? What was the disruption?
The disruption was the email boxes were being filled with spam emails. That was a real quick indicator that something's going on that's unusual. We do get some spam emails during the day on a regular basis. You may see 10, 20. When we start getting in the dozens or the hundreds, then something has happened that changed the environment.
Were your virus defenses up to par?
The virus defenses were up to par. There's a concept called zero-day attack and day one attack, and that's what we believe we're dealing with now. Viruses mutate, there are variants of it, and if we have not gotten the signatures, if we've not gotten the rules to change our security software in time, we are subject to it.
This started with an employee clicking on an attachment.
That is the normal way for this to be delivered, for the viruses and the infections to be delivered, is via an email link. They use the internet and use unwary users. When you click a link and it responds to a server, it alerts that server to start sending more emails. There are more opportunities for download pieces. And the various we're dealing with right now will actually take pieces of software and assemble them on site in our servers. And that's what we saw.
So is there an education campaign for employees about clicking on unknown sources?
Absolutely. And that's about to be ramped up about 2,000%. We have educated the public, educated the new employees, the current employees. When you see an email that came from somebody you know, and it looks like a request for information, innocently, they could click on it. What we're ramping up for is those things that are just small clues, because what was seen and what we've seen in the emails, they were legitimate email addresses for the county. It was the link inside that was bad. Excuse me.
Real quick, we'll make Al available. I did want to ask the chairman to make his way up here.
Thank you.
Two things I wanted to reiterate. Number one, if you didn't catch this, no public information has been compromised. So none of that has been released. The other thing I wanted to point out is Al and Valerie were asking about what was a hiccup? What held us back on Thursday and Friday? The main thing, the biggest effect that we saw to the public was really their water bills. They didn't have access to their water bills. That was the main issue that affected the public. We still had access to telephones, our landlines were working, our emails were still working. It might have been limited on an infected computer. However, if you had access on your phone, if you have access to Office 365, your email is up and running. And also right now, our telephones are working, our emails are up and running, no public information has been compromised, and again, the biggest issue to the day-to-day operations that serves the public has been the ability to pay their water bill. One thing I did want to make sure that you all knew is that we will provide a grace period. As of right now, it's indefinite because we don't know when we're going to wrap this up. We're hoping to wrap it up sometime by Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So other than that, we will not be able to take bill payments, but we are still able to provide 911 services. We are still able to take incoming and outgoing calls. We are still able to respond not only through our emails, but also through our social media, which is our main source of information, as many of you all have seen. So you can always use that. And if for any odd reason anyone is having an issue contacting us, Facebook and social media has always been there for us. So wanted to make sure I made those two things clear. I will now bring up the chairman. Yes, sir.
Respectfully, you mentioned something about a grace period, and you cut that off.
Yeah, so the grace period, again, will be indefinite. And by that, I mean, first, we have to wrap up this situation. get this situation working, get the monitors, get the servers up and running for people to be able to pay their water bills. So just in regards to their water bills, there'll be an indefinite grace period. We will have a much more concrete deadline once we resolve this main issue.
How many water bill customers are there?
I'm not exactly sure on that number, but I can get that for you rather quickly. With that being said, let me bring up Oz Nesbitt Sr., our chairman of Rockdale County.
Good morning. Rockdale County is in a very critical state right now with the ransomware attack. We have about approximately 28,000 ratepayers, or the customers for our local water system. Number one is public safety. Public safety is completely under control here in Rockdale County. Our quality of life as it relates to our customers being able to not only pay their water, but have clean drinking water, safe water here in Rockdale County. We don't take these ransomware attacks lightly at all. This is a major interruption to day-to-day productivity here in Rockdale County. We have all hands on deck. Our operations, whether it relates to our public partners in terms of the judicial system, our local courts. As stated earlier, our public safety, the sheriff's office is in full operation. The only area that has been impacted in a major way is our customer bill pay, customer service in our water department. All of other operations are well underway. Now, you do understand that as we are partnering up with all of our state and federal partners such as the GBI, Homeland Security, and all of those other agencies who look into ransomware attacks, we are making sure that we're working side by side with them to provide them with all information that is needed and required in order to make sure that we get Rockdale County back up and running as soon as possible. We don't take this lightly. These things, as you know, they've happened throughout other municipalities and counties throughout the metro area. This time they showed up in Rockdale. We're doing everything we can to mediate the problem. I will go on the record to say that from an education and information standpoint internally for our employees, I just spoke about this 2 weeks ago in our open public board meeting, the severity of ransomware attacks and employees going onto computers, clicking on information that seems suspect. We have, as the Director of Technology Services has stated, we have ramped up, we've stepped up our efforts in terms of making sure that we educate and inform all of our employees of symptoms and signs and signals to be alerted to as they pay attention to what's coming into their wheelhouse as it relates to emails and information that's coming through on the local network or computer. This is very serious, and we're making sure that each and every one of our employees know what to be on the lookout for and how to be alerted to the possible attacks. Oftentimes these attacks come from with a very innocent posture or appearance, but as the Director of Technology Services has indicated, there's often a link associated with these emails, and an employee without knowing can easily click on that link, and it can really create a world of problem for our operations here in Rockdale County. So with that being said, we have actually we've had an internal briefing with all of our leadership staff earlier this morning. As we speak, there's information that's moving throughout our internal operations to our employees to make sure they are alert and aware going forward. In addition to that, we're going to step up our efforts with training and making sure that we have dedicated training for every Rockdale County employee to know how to be on alert and be aware moving forward. Our goal is to be proactive so that we will not be as reactive when these type of situations happen. Any questions?
And before we open up with questions, Tara, to meet us up here, and I'll go ahead and call you out. We'll go to Tom, and then after that, we'll go to Val.
George mentioned before the meeting that there was an attempt, the same type of attempt prior. Can you speak a little bit about that?
In the beginning of this administration, in May of 2017, we had Our first attempt of ransomware attack will actually shut this county operations down for about a week and a half. Luckily at that time, it was during the holiday weekend, and we were able to dispatch and deploy not only our internal staff to help us mediate this problem by going to every single county computer, every office, every cubicle, every desk to clean up the problem. That happened a few years ago in 2017. Since then, we've not had an issue. Under the watch of the leadership of Director Al Yeverton, we've been able to do a lot of safeguarding. He has been enrolled in a lot of cybersecurity training and classes to make sure that Rockdale County stays on the cutting edge of technology as it relates to cybersecurity. In one of our national classes last year, conferences, we learned that cybersecurity is the common household language in terms of counties and municipalities being prepared on a day-to-day basis to make sure that we're doing all that we can to ward and safeguard ourselves from these types of ransomware attacks.
Chairman, did you upgrade, follow up that, did you upgrade your system after the first attempt? And how do you explain that it's happening again?
We put parameters in place to safeguard and protect our system. However, the nature of ransomware, from what I understand, even me not being a technology expert, the level of understanding that I have is that these are the types of things that you just can't. You can be on the safeguard and looking out for those things by training and educating your workforce. However, there are hackers out there in our community who are going to do everything they can, and they're working day in and day out to try to infiltrate our systems. I saw another hand.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sharon, you mentioned, and so did George, that you had not had any attacks since Al came on board. So how long have you been on board?
Director Yeverton, let me go back to the original time when we had our first attack, which was May of 2017 under the leadership of a different Director of Technology Services at the time. Then we were able to secure the professional services of Director Yeverton. You came on board at what time, sir?
November 2017.
November of 2017. Earlier that year, which was May of 2017, is when under different leadership in terms of technology service, we experienced that first attack. Director Yeverton came in November of the same year.
So you've only had one attack?
We've only had one attack prior to this incident. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, I'm in the IT business. And I think that in defense of of Al here, there is no known defense against ransomware attacks. A lot of these attacks are sanctioned by foreign countries and extremely sophisticated. But in listening to Mr. Yelverton, he talks a lot about the fact that these attacks were related to emails. And ransomware doesn't work on emails. So my question is, normally with ransomware, it comes with encrypted files. In other words, it encrypts the files on the computer. It doesn't create spam and it doesn't create excessive emails. Was this in fact a ransomware attack, in which case a text file is left on each folder that's encrypted with instructions on how to pay the payment? Or was this in fact a different type of attack that was related to emails and not encrypted files?
This is an actual ransomware attack according to all the classifications and information we've received from our federal and state partners. And yes, there are some variants of ransomware that do come through emails, but as you said, it doesn't actually happen because of the email. When you click the link, it retrieves a file. That file gets downloaded automatically because you've invited it in when you click that link. Whether you try to save it or not, it's there. It can be a picture. It can be a link. It's embedded. The particular variant we're dealing with doesn't bring down the entire file. It brings down pieces, and it assembles itself. Once it's inside the network, it's built into Ryuk, which is the ransomware. But it was brought in by TrickBot, which was brought in by Emotet. So if you want to look those up, They are real ransomware or, at the worst, infections.
Were the files encrypted though or not?
We have found some encrypted files, yes.
Chris Francis, Fox 5 News, Atlanta. Was the water department the target?
I don't think it's safe to say that the department was the target. If in fact this is a true situation of ransomware, folks are just out to get money from the county as a whole. They could care less about what department that they impact. The water department is all a part of Rockdale County government, so whether you're attacking the water department or animal control, if you're asking for money, it's all coming from the same pot.
Rebecca Schramm from CBS 46. So if the hackers ask for money, first question, will you pay it? Secondly, how do you fix this? Do you need them to release something, or do you just have to start all over with your programs and servers and such? I mean, is this going to ruin your system?
So, Rebecca, let me start with answering. I think the first question you asked will give the overall answer to all of what you asked. As chairman of the county, it is my day-to-day duty and responsibility to make sure that, number one, the public safety of our citizens are always the top priority. And in doing so, we have to make sure the delivery of services that we protect our systems, the citizens' information of our employees, and critical information that we have to provide to vendors that we have partnerships for. So I would never advertise that we're going to throw money out of the window, so to speak. However, I'm going to make the decision that needs to be made in order to keep Rockdale County up and running and safe. A part of that will have to be processed case by case or situation by situation.
So if you have to, you will?
We're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that Rockdale County is operating on a day-to-day basis and that the safety of our citizens are always the top priority.
But at the moment, these hackers are holding the county hostage.
Well, when we get a demand, we will process that decision and we'll go from there. I don't want to advertise or send any messages out there to cyberspace or anywhere that Rockdale County is the place to come hold hostage, because we're not. We're putting parameters in place, as you've heard from a technology standpoint, to do all we can to protect. But you've also heard the difficulty in doing that when you talk about hackers and folks who are holding you hostage in reference to ransomware attacks.
What do you conclude? There was an attack in 2017, there's one now, and you didn't get any demand for money in 2017, I assume, and you're not getting one now yet. What do you think of that?
One of the things that I conclude, again, it's been stated earlier, not only there are folks who are out there in search of money, in search of funds, and there are also folks who are out there who are having a good time, who enjoy just hacking systems and bringing disruption to a local government, whether it be a municipality or a county government such as Rockdale County. Some folks have nothing else better to do than to interrupt our systems. I am hoping and praying that the state and federal authorities will be able to work very diligently to find out who these individuals are, because it brings a a tremendous amount of service interruption. It really throws our operations way out of whack. We cannot afford that. Rockdale County has come a long way in terms of making sure we give quality services to our local residents and those folks that we do business and those people who do business here within our county. So this is very serious to us. I can assure you that the necessary decisions will be made as it relate to what needs to happen to keep the lights on in Rockdale County and keep us moving forward.
One of the things I wanted to add, going back to your question, so we have approximately 30,000 customers with Rockdale Water Resources. The exact number is 28,132. And to piggyback on your question, Tom, just to make sure we got this clear, yes, we did have a ransomware attack in 2017 early on. The difference was they did ask for a ransom. We were able to decrypt it with our cybersecurity contractors before we even got to that point. So we were able to break the code, in other words, to prevent that situation.
And you're trying to do that again?
Well, that's what we're in the midst of right now. The only difference with this one, as Al had shared with you all, is that this email was a little different than before. And it was essentially just an email with a link. There was not a major red flag. I mean, for most of us, we can recognize, but to your everyday user, let me just see what's happening. Well, this is what it has resulted in, but the first one we were able to decrypt without paying any ransom and without having any personal or private information compromised.
So no files are locked or anything right now?
Right now they are, but they've been locked, first of all, from our defense standpoint. Because as soon as Al and his group noticed the ransomware, they said, you know what, let's pull the plug. They did it on their own before that spread to any other additional server.
Some files are locked?
Yes, they are locked, yes.
I have a question. I guess ransom can work both ways. Does the county send out any links to any sources like our media outlet that would have a link? Because last year, I reported to the Recreation Department that I thought something was strange about an email that came to us from them. Mm-hmm. And I was just advised, do not open it. So I didn't open it, but I had our computer guy to check on I'm around News in. So have you all gotten any other complaints or concerns like that?
Well, not particularly, but that's not to say that they aren't happening. And one of the reasons why I say that is because here's the issue. People get emails all the time, and people try to make emails look credible from credible sources. And they do that, but the first level of defense is exactly what you just said. Hold up, I was not expecting this. This is out of the blue. It doesn't look normal to me. Let me confirm that. And typically, especially from my department, do we send links out? Obviously, especially to you guys in the media, all the time you want to have a link to a video, to what we've produced, so we send that out to you, but again, that's after you've requested it from us.
Yes, sir.
George Kelichek, I, the taxpayer. Al, this may be directed to you. With the current situation, will your team and yourself be able to rectify and mitigate this situation, or are we going to have to spend additional taxpayer dollars to get this situation corrected?
Let me start first with that, responding to that question. It's already costing the county and the taxpayers money right now, the fact that we're not up at 100% operation. We don't know the end result or what the end demand is going to be. As you heard me state earlier to Rebecca, the decision will be made to make sure that the lights are on in Rockdale County and that we're able to keep our county up and running and moving forward. If money is involved, quite naturally that money will come from taxpayers' dollars. Our prayer and our hope is that we won't have to resort to that, but we don't know. The nature of these attacks put you in a situation that you really don't know until the demand is made very clear. At this time, Technology Services and several other agencies are working along with our department to mitigate this problem as expeditiously as possible. If there's a demand, we will address it at that time. Again, I'm not going to announce in which way we'll address it. We'll see the nature of the demand and we'll go from there. Just know that anytime that county operations are down, taxpayers' dollars are naturally being spent, even when we're down.
And real quick, just in respect of time, I did want to let y'all know, we'll wrap up in about 5 minutes. Is our 5-minute countdown.
You said you're not at 100%. What percent are you at?
At this point, we haven't taken a poll to figure out where we are, but we do know that we're able to serve the citizens as they come in and take care of their issues. So I can't tell you we're 50%, 75%, or 25%. That's not something that I've actually stopped and tried to figure out.
Al, let me ask you this then. What percentage of your operation are you not able to access?
Probably about 30%.
And let me just add this, adding a percentage is tough. It's very tough to add a percentage on number-wise, especially when these types of equations don't have an equation to get that to put into fruition. But one thing I can give you, to give you an example to compare, the first time we had this, complete shutdown. Complete 100% shutdown. I wouldn't have been able to even call you to get you here. Right now, the biggest thing, again, water. Phones are working, emails are working, the system is still up. There are systems that they have to triage independently, but if that gives you a comparison from where we were now to where we are now, hopefully that helps. Giving you a percentage may be a little tougher.
Since Friday, what is the estimated cost for Rockdale County?
We've not computed that cost as of yet. I will tell you that the longer that we're down, the greater the cost. And we don't have a number to give you in terms of since Friday, since we've been down. This press conference was really designed to make sure that we update our local media as well as our citizens as to what's happening here in Rockdale County. We also wanted to make sure that we took ownership of the fact that we've been attacked. And we also wanted to take an opportunity to announce to our citizens that we are aggressively working around the clock with all hands on deck to mitigate this problem and make sure that we get back to a normal operation here in Rockdale County. We realize that no communication sends out the wrong message. Having this press conference was an opportunity to educate our citizenry as well as all of those who do business at Rockdale County. So we certainly do appreciate the media being here, and we're asking that all of our local residents in Rockdale County stay tuned to the local media, also our media outlets through Channel 23, which is our government access channel as well.